I can see a lot of people talking shit about this main event, but I think it's going to be hell entertaining for a couple of reasons. The one thing about Lemos that I'll never forget for as long as she fights in the UFC is, has there been a fighter that has had such a exponential growth period in between fights? Think about the fact that Leslie Smith knocked this woman out with standing elbows as a debut. And since then, she's ripped off every fight with a win. And honestly, she's looked better and better and better every single fight, like exponentially. And then you look at the Angela Hill fight. I think that's the perfect fight to gauge for female fighters to see how well you can sustain a 3-round fight. Because Angela Hill might be one of the best, long-range fighters. I guess say long-term fighters. Just in terms of rounds and stuff, every fight she's in is close. She rarely loses a gas tank. And so she forces you to stay in the fight if you want to get that win. Because if you're a dominant first-round fighter, unfortunately, that doesn't matter in rounds 2 and 3 if you lose both. And I think that's where you can see Angela Hill pull off a lot of big wins because she ends up tiring out a lot of her opponents and then pulling out a little bit more. And with the Lemos fight, you actually saw that the cardio factor was the main reason that Lemos lost a bit of that edge there, and Angela Hill was able to do her thing and come back as per the usual in the later rounds. So if I had to break this fight down just in terms of where I can see some issues, I think the cardio problem for Lemos could be a very big, gaping hole, if you will, because with Jessica Andrade, not only have we seen her go 5 rounds, I mean, you look at the losses in a row, and it's absolutely insane. All champions, right? You have to assume that she's going to be pushing forward the way she does, use the strikes to set up those big clinches and those big takedowns, the body locks, blah, 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 blah. But, man, there's something about Lemos' striking early on that makes me fearful for Andrade. And, you think about the way, who was it? I think it was Weili Zhang or Shevchenko. I'm just trying to remember the exact round and how it went down. Especially the fact that they were both so early. That's how crisp, if you're striking, well, it's obviously Weili now that I think about it because I'm visualizing it. But, when your striking can be that quick and on point and that powerful in the first 5 minutes of a fight, we see it with the guy rankings all the time. That puncher's chance usually happens early in a fight. And then it kind of, becomes more of a technical battle and an attrition war, in rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the fight. In her case, it's like, I almost want to sprinkle Lemos to finish this fight, but then have the idea that Andrade is a live dog. And the only reason I say that is I just don't see Andrade being the same dominant fighter that we see usually in the first round. Because when you watch Lemos fight, especially that Angela Hill fight, that first round is beastly. Her strikes are incredibly quick. She's strong. She's got combos behind them. And then you see some of the more technical stuff. As she gets tired, Angela Hill kind of tries to pull guard and then gets reversed. I think it was point guard. And then against the fence and then gets reversed a little bit. And then she gets the takedown. Lemos reverses and ends up on top. Little things like that stand out to me because not only was that when people thought that Lemos was starting to get tired, but she still pulled off the reversal and ended up on top. It's that... Bisping, I think, used the term perfectly, and it's strike rate. When you talk about strike rate, it's very difficult to beat Angela Hill over the course of 3 or 5 rounds. But then you think about how well Lemos did early on, and then the strike rate of a Jessica Andrade. I think Andrade has that similar take where she just goes so hard early in a fight that she will sort of die out at the end as the fight prolongs. And that's where I'm just so unsure of, who would have thought with Andrade versus Lemos we'd be talking about the striker versus the wrestler, really. But that's where I see this fight. I think that Andrade has such good, body lock takedowns and wrestling that she feeds off of working from the clinch and then just mauling you on the ground. But guess what? This is another fight where the striker has a 3-inch reach advantage, fights southpaw, kind of, has a really good game on the back foot and staying at distance. That's not what Jessica likes. Jessica likes to maul you. Jessica likes to jump on you. Jessica likes to make sure that you're on the ground pleading for your life while she fills your face in with elbows and punches. So I'm excited for this fight because it's going to answer just a lot of fun personal questions that I have about both fighters because Jessica Andrade is a perennial contender. She's been a perennial championship contender her entire, career for the, as her name grew. But now she's kind of is this a gatekeeper role? We're starting to see a bit more of a gatekeeper role with an Amanda Lemos fight. And so if she can't pull this off, we're kind of seeing where the career ends up. But again, I mean, you can't write off Jessica Andrade in this fight because her durability and her game plan usually beats everyone except for champions. So that's kind of where I can see this line being 100% in favor of Jessica Andrade. I can't go much higher than -150. I simply can't. I think that Lemos has a really good body of work and a game plan that usually poses a bit of a problem for Jessica Andrade. That's where I see this fight. I just think that in the areas where we've seen Jessica unsuccessful, Lemos tends to be a bit more successful, especially earlier in the fight. So that's where it's like, do I think Andrade might win the fight? Sure, 5 rounds, right? But then Lemos early on. So a part of me is like, if you can find your bet 1, 2, 3 rounds, maybe you take one fighter then and then the other ones then. That happened a lot in the last few cards. But all in all, I just think the striking game of Lemos is going to be on display here, especially early on. But if Jessica can walk through those punches, doesn't feel him very well, gets the body lock in, I think that she's probably going to do what Jessica does. So my line here is, like I said, -150 for Jessica. I think it's a fair line. Let's take a look. -175, and it has not moved much. You got a few places going all the way up to -185 to -190. Then you've got Lemos at +150. And pretty much the same across the board. There's a site called Every Game. Please avoid that one if you're betting along to Lemos because that's about 22 to 25 points too short of a dog for you to bet on. But guys, this fight is one of those underrated cards that could absolutely blow. I think it's a super fun card. We got the Rob Font card the following week, but this is a great setup fight. We got so many amazing prelims, so stick around for that one. Don't forget the audio will be up on Spotify for the guys who don't want to see my face and rather listen to the whole thing at once. So we'll get it up on Spotify there, but all the videos on YouTube. Appreciate the time. Check in next week. Peace.